In this video, I will show you how to import animations from Halo 3 into Blender for use with the Halo 3 mod tools. So I have Gorilla opened here, and these model animation graph tags are where all of the animations for a specific biped or weapon or whatever vehicle are stored. Now currently, as of right now, I imagine this will change sometime in the future, but there isn't a way to actually extract the animations from model animation graph tags from the mod tools. So the way we actually get animations now is through the use of a program called Bonobo. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's named after an ape of some sort. So I'm going to go find where I have Bonobo saved. Here it is. So if we can't extract animations from the mod tools, then where exactly do we get the animations from? Well, the only way that is supported right now is getting the animations from the original Xbox 360 Halo 3 map files. Now, there's a couple ways you can get a hold of these files. The easiest way is to find them and download them online. I'm not going to show you where to do that because that's kind of a legally gray area, but I have the map files ready on one of my hard drives in this Halo 3 original folder. And I'm going to show you two examples. I'm going to show you a brute, and then I'm going to show you a first-person animation, because they work a little bit differently. So I'm going to open up Jungle, let it load. And we want to look for the model animation graph tags, which will be under this bracket jmad bracket model animation graph. And we want to look for brute. It's pretty high up there, objects, characters, brute, brute. You click on this, make sure it's highlighted, extract source files after you right click. So let me show you that again. You right click, extract source files, and I'm going to extract them to my desktop. Hit OK. Now wait for it. It's not done. It'll tell you when it's done. The brute is a very complex character model, so whenever you deal with the brute, things are going to take a little bit of time to load and extract and unload and unpack and everything. So yeah, that's actually how much time it took. 19 seconds, done. Hit OK. I'm going to minimize Bonobo because we're going to come back to it when I show you the first person animations. So I'll just minimize it. And here it gave us this objects folder. I'm going to go in, brute animations, and here are all of our animations. I'm going to move this animations folder out to my desktop so we don't have all of these folders to go through just to get to the animations. So I'll delete that objects folder. So we kind of have everything we need to view the brute animations. I'm going to show you what I mean. So let's open up Blender. And before we go any farther, actually, let me show you all of the files it gave us. So you can see it gave us JMA files, but it also gave us JMM, JMO, and I think that might be it. No, JMR, and JMT. So the difference between all of these file types, from my understanding, is that all of these JM files are all pretty much JMA files, but these like the JMT and JMM and all that stuff, the difference in that is how the model animation graph tag interprets what that animation is going to be used for. I could be wrong about that. I'm still not totally 100% sure exactly how the model animation graph tag works. I'm still figuring that out, but wanted to point that out. And just another example of that, if we go to our scene properties panel in Blender, go to Halo scene properties, let's just change it to Halo 3, and JMA scene properties. Under extension, we can actually change this JMA to any of those other JM formats. And again, that's all contained in just the JMA. So just wanted to point that out, that all of these JM files are all kind of contained within the JMA importer and exporter. Okay, so let's actually get our brute JMA file in Blender. So I'm going to delete everything, and I actually do want to keep the timeline up this time because we are going to use it because we're dealing with animations. So under import here, let's change this to Halo 3 MCC under the JMA scene properties. So right here under the scene properties, you're going to have this section called import and first JMS rest position. I'm going to go ahead and import the JMA file without specifying this just to show you. So if I do import JMA and I go to my desktop where I had all of those animations saved, as you can see, not only the JMA files, but the JMM, all this stuff is available. And also notice right here we have that same import option. And if I try to actually type in here and this field loses focus, what I typed in there actually disappears. Let me set this to Halo 3 and I will import. I'll just import the first one here. Import JMA. Now again, the brute tags, the brute render models, whatever, they're very dense. Okay, it's in, and if we press play, the animation's working. However, the way I imported it is really not best practice, and because of it, if you import it the same way I did, it's very likely that you're going to run into some issues. So I will show you the proper way of importing them. But first, we got a warning. You'll notice that we got a warning. So I'm going to open up this new window in Blender, or this new area. I'm going to go to info under scripting. Here is the error we got. No valid armature detected. One will be created, but expect issues with visuals and scene due to no proper rest position. The reason why we got this is, the reason it didn't detect a valid armature is because we did not specify this option right here, first JMS rest position. What this means is that we need to get the JMS file for the brute itself. I'm going to get rid of that info area, drag down my timeline. Actually, I'm going to just new file completely, so don't save, delete everything. Okay, so we need to get the JMS file for the brute because the JMA importer looks for JMS files as the rest position. So let's get the JMS file. So let's go to the H3EK, Now, in my previous Blender Halo 3 tutorial, I showed you how to import models, import JMSs. So I'm going to breeze through this. CMD, we want to do tool, extract, extract, import info, and we want to get the render model for the brute. So let's go to objects, characters, brute. Okay. So that's going to be tags, objects, characters, brute, and then brute.render model. Hit enter. Okay, you will notice something very strange. It didn't export a JMS, or it didn't extract a JMS. It extracted a .ass file. And if you're familiar with the file types from the Halo 3 mod tools, the .ass file is a scene specification file. The .ass file is mainly used for creating map geometry. Now, for whatever reason, Bungie back in the day decided to use the .ass format to do all of the brute stuff. I don't know why. And in the Blender tools here, JMA scene properties, it's wanting a JMS, and we have a ASS. So this file here that tool has given us is useless. We can't use it. I'm going to show you actually what it looks like when we try to import it. So I'm going to go to the data folder, and let's just get the objects, cut it. I'm going to paste it onto my desktop. Yeah, okay. So it's not a JMS file, so I guess we'll just do .ass. Desktop, objects, characters, brute, render, brute.ass. Import that. Okay, we're getting errors, and this just doesn't look right. Yeah. Mainly the reason why is because armature support for .ass files in the Blender importer exporter toolset that's not supported for .ass files. And that might change in the future, but to be honest, it's really not good practice to do armatures with .ass. You want to stick to .jms and JMA and all that stuff. So, how do we get the JMS file for the brute? I'm just going to close out of Blender right now. Don't save. We can close out of Tool 2 and close out of the animations. Get rid of this objects folder. So, how do we do this? Well, the author of the Blender Asset Development Toolset has graced us with the JMS file for pretty much everything that has any sort of animations or armature animations. So the way we get to those is that we need to open the run program in Blender. You can do that, or not Blender, Windows. You can do that by hitting the Windows key and R. And if you're familiar with modding Minecraft at all, you'll recognize app data, %app data %. This is where you want to type in the open field, hit OK. And this will take us to our app data roaming folder. And here we want to open the Blender Foundation. Blender, select the latest version that you're running. Go to Scripts, Add-ons. This is where your add-ons are saved and whatever for Blender. This is where they're loaded from. And in your add-ons folder, go to IO Scene Halo. Now the JMSs for everything are here in the resources.zip folder. So you want to open up this zip folder using whatever software. I'm using WinRAR. But here I'm going to go to Halo 3, and here's the brute.jms. So let's extract this brute.jms out to this animations folder on our desktop. Once we do that, we can just close out of all of this. And now we have our, where is it? The brute is such a dense biped. Let's sort by type. There it is, brute.jms. Okay, so let's import this thing properly into Blender. Let's open up Blender. Now, as I said before, when we import JMA files and you're trying to specify the primary JMS and you're typing, you may think about typing the path in, but when you lose focus, it just is deleted. So the way you actually go about doing this is that you go to Halo Scene Properties. Let's change this to Halo 3. JMA Scene Properties, Halo 3 MCC. And here is where it actually wants us to specify the JMS file. So we're going to click here on this folder button. Let's go to our brute animations folder that's on our desktop. Let's find brute.jms. There it is. Accept. Okay. So we have the JMS we need. Now you'll notice there's a second JMS rest position. You don't have to worry about this for the brute. This is mainly for first-person animation, so when we get there, I will show you what that is all about. But now we can import the actual JMA files. So let's go up here to File, Import JMA, and as you can see, the path is there for the primary JMS. Let's go to the animations folder. Let's turn this game version to Halo 3. And we can do any of these. You can do the one where the brute is peeing. That's an option. I'm just going to do the first one here, act beatdown 1 var 1 for simplicity. Import JMA. Again, you're probably going to get not responding because the brute specifically is just a lot of stuff. The brute is very detailed. Okay. That's weird, I still got that same error, but did I get that same error? Let's check. No valid armature detected. Oh, you know what? I bet the reason why we're getting that error, I will show you in a bit why I think that error is happening. But anyway, um, we have the armature, but we don't have a model. Okay, this is weird. Now, the reason why is because the JMA format, as far as I know, only stores the movement, the basically the transforms for all of these armature bones. It doesn't actually store the model information or anything. It's only there for the positions, rotations, and scales of the bones. So how do we get the model in? That's pretty simple. We just need to import the JMS normally. So import JMS. Let's find the brute.jms again. Let's do Halo 3 and let's import this. Again, it's going to take a while. Okay, so when we imported it, it did exactly what it's supposed to do. And that's add another armature, but we don't want that. We want to take the mesh from this and apply that mesh, or make this mesh a child of this armature. So the first step would be to delete this armature. Now we're going to get a bunch of these orphaned markers. I don't know if that was the most politically correct term to use, but we don't really need to worry about these markers. You can just ignore them because these markers are stored in the JMS. However, the JMA files do not store the markers. Same reason why the JMA doesn't store the mesh itself. It doesn't concern itself with these earthly possessions. So how do we get this to how do we make this armature the parent of this mesh? So you're probably thinking, well, let's just do what we did previously. Let's select the mesh first and then shift select the armature last and go to Control P, armature deform. And it doesn't quite work. Now, why is this happening? The reason why this is happening, take a look at the vertex groups, the names of the vertex groups on the mesh. They all start with this prefix, B underscore. So B underscore jaw, B underscore head, B underscore neck. Now let's take a look at the armature. And we probably need to go into pose mode to view the bones. Yeah, they don't have that B underscore prefix. So that's why the parenting didn't work. So we need to add the B underscore prefix to all the bones. Now you're probably panicking right now. There's like 50 bones. And so you're telling me I have to go in and rename all 50 bones, just add the B underscore. Well, again, the author of the Blender add-on has yet again graced us with a great tool that will help us. So let's go back to object mode. And here in this side panel, you want to drag this out. We have a Halo Tools panel or tab right here. Now with our armature selected, we have something here Node prefix helper. Yay! We don't have to do it all manually. Okay, let's select the prefix, this right here, and let's type lowercase b underscore. Set Halo node prefix. Let's press that button. And look at that. All of our bones have the b underscore prefix added to them. Yes, we don't have to do it manually. Okay, so let's actually let's try that again. Let's select the mesh and select the armature. Now let's do Control P armature deform. Yay! Let's get rid of all of these markers so they're not in our way. And we can play our animation. Look at that. It is working. It's so glorious. Okay, a couple things I want to point out here. This will be important knowledge when you're making your own animations. Some things I've noticed is that if you're familiar with Blender, which you should be if you're watching this video, you'll know that by default, Blender will always start a blend file with the first keyframe set at, or the first frame set at 1 and the end set at 250. But when we imported our JMA, the end was set to 179. So that already tells us that, first of all, the animation should be 179 frames long. So let's go into Gorilla, and let's go down to the animations. Yep, so the animation I have loaded in Blender is this one, act_beatdown_1 var1. And right here in frame count, 179. So yeah, this is exactly as it should be. 179 frames in Blender, 179 frames in Gorilla. The other thing, the second thing is that if you go to render properties, nope, not render properties, output properties, the frame rate has been set to 30 frames per second. By default, Blender is set to 24 frames per second, but again, when we imported that JMA file, it set the frame rate to 30. So that also tells you that when you animate, you should be animating in 30 frames per second. One last thing is let's take a look at the armature, and you'll notice that every single frame has a keyframe baked onto it. So that's another thing you want to look out for when you're making your own animations, is that when you have a finalized animation, you should bake every single frame as a keyframe. I'm guessing the reason why is because when you're doing when you're in the graph editor and you're doing like, you know, interpolate mode, linear, whatever, easing type, ease in, ease out, none of that actually carries over into the Halo 3 engine. So you want to bake everything into a keyframe, bake every frame into a keyframe, or else you may lose your easing, where the Halo 3 engine might only do ease in and out, or it might only do linear easing. So just another thing to keep in mind. Make sure that you have every key or every frame keyed. Okay, so yeah, cool. Oh, one other thing is that so in Blender, I think it's in the dope sheet, we have the action editor, and this is where you typically store all your different animations. But again, all the animations are just saved as their own separate files. So you may not even need to worry about using the action editor. Just make an animation, export that. There might be something in the importer exporter where you can select an action in the action editor. It might also have something to do with the NLA nonlinear animation thing, but it might just be for the sake of, not getting too down in the weeds, just doing one animation per blend file. If I think the mod or not the mod author, the author of the toolset. Let's go to preferences. I think General 101 has stated that they do plan on adding bulk animation importing. I don't know that for certain, but this guy though is a straight up G. So thank them for this Blender add-on, because if we didn't have this Blender add-on, then we pretty much wouldn't be able to use Blender at all for modding Halo. And we would probably have to use just old scripts for 3DS. Okay, so I've rambled quite enough about this. Let's go ahead and let's get a first-person animation working, because I want to show you the differences with that. So I'm going to close out of Blender. Don't need to save this. I'm just going to delete this folder because I'm done with it. And I'm done with Gorilla 2. I'm going to close out of that. I just wanted to show you, the frame count and all that stuff. Okay, so we need to go back to Bonobo, and we need to find, let's do the Master Chief or Spartan battle rifle animations. So objects, characters, Master Chief, FP, weapons, rifle, FP, battle rifle. It's exactly what we want. Let's extract these source files to the desktop. Wait for it to finish that. Done. Okay. I'm done with this program, so I'm going to close out of it. Now, let's run tool again. And unlike the brute, I do believe that the extract import info for both the Spartan arms.jms and the battle rifle JMS are actually going to give us a JMS. So let's do tool, extract, import info. Let's first get the arms, the first person arms. That will be under objects, characters, Master Chief, FP. Not FP body. FP body is for the legs that you see when you look down. So FP, and we're going to want FP render model. So let's specify this path. Tags, objects, characters, Master Chief, FP, fp.render underscore model. Let's get all that out. Awesome. Now let's get the battle rifle JMS. So we'll need to go back to our objects folder, go to weapons, rifle, battle rifle, and let's get the FP battle rifle. So that'll be let's press up on the keyboard to get the last command, and let's just change this to weapon rifle battle rifle FP battle rifle and FP dot, or no, sorry, FP battle rifle dot render model. Okay, you can see that it gave us JMSs for that, so perfect. You can close out of tool. Let's go to the data folder. Let's go to objects. So yeah, let's just get this objects folder out. Let's cut this and let's move it to our desktop. Wait a minute. Okay. We can close out of the h3ek directory. Let's just make a folder on our desktop. Name it whatever you want to. I'm going to name mine poop, I guess, because yeah. Anyway, let's get all of the animations we got from Bonobo. Let's get... Oh man, this is going to be a little confusing, making sure we get all this. FP arms. I should have extracted that objects folder we got from Bonobo first, but I didn't think of that, so just need to make sure we got everything in these folders. Yeah. And we want to get FP render, no, character, oh yeah, no, we need to get weapons. Rifle, battle rifle, FP battle rifle, JMS. Okay, let's look in our poop folder. Okay, I think we got everything we need. Just in case we don't, I'm not going to delete my objects folder right away. Okay. Can close out of that. Let's open Blender again. And let's go ahead and get our scene properties ready. So Halo scene properties, game version Halo 3. JMA scene properties, let's change game version to Halo 3. Now we want to import, we want to specify the first JMS rest position, and that's going to be the arms. So let's go to our poop folder, fp arms.jms, and second JMS rest position, that is going to be the battle rifle JMS. If we do not specify the second or even the first one, this whole thing is going to break, and it's not you. This is an absolute requirement to get this working. Let me show you. Let me show you what that will look like if you don't specify those. I'm going to do import JMA poop. I'll do first person. Let's do melee strike. Halo 3. Oh, it didn't give us anything. Yep, because we failed. Yep. Here we go. Malformed node graph. No valid armature detected. No valid armature detected, and animation graph is invalid. Import will now be aborted. Sad. Let's go back to timeline. Okay, let's import this thing for real. So, get all this set up. Now, first JMS rest position, as I said earlier, is going to be the FP arms. Second JMS rest position is going to be the FP battle rifle. Now it's ready. Now it's actually ready to import. So we'll do file, import JMA. As you can see, our primary JMS and secondary JREMEs are in the import section. Game version Halo 3. Desktop, find our poop folder, and let's do first person melee strike 1. Import JMA. Yay! We still got these weird warnings. I don't know what that's about, to be honest, but there we go. We got our animation in. It's set the first and last keyframe, or frame I should say. It's our frame rate is 30 frames. Let's play it, and yeah, that looks good. Let's import both let's get the meshes in. So JMS FP arms. We'll do Halo 3. And we'll want to get rid of that armature.001. Delete that. Delete these markers, don't need them. And yeah, we need to parent this. Now, of course, if you remember, we need to rename the bones. Let's see. Yeah, B underscore, so it's going to have that same B underscore prefix. I think the reason why is because, for whatever reason, when 343 ported Halo 3 to PC, they just, I guess, renamed vertex groups, or maybe it's something with either Bonobo or the importer. Maybe it's a quirk with one of those, but we do, the fact of the matter is that we do need to just rename these, so we'll just add the prefix Halo tools, get that set node bone prefix, and let's actually parent this now. Oops. What went wrong here? It did not apply the prefix. There it goes. Now it did. Control P, armature deform. We got the arms in. Hooray. Let's get the gun in now. So let's import. Let's deselect everything. Import JMS FP battle rifle. Import that. We can delete that armature, delete the markers. And let's see, let's look at the vertex group. So let's go ahead and let's just try to parent this battle rifle. Control P, armature deform, and nothing happened. And for whatever reason, the bone names for the battle rifle, let's take a look here. So for example, this bone right here, B gun, that will be the equivalent to frame gun on the battle rifle vertex groups. Let's take a look at the magazine, B magazine. Again, the B underscore is from the node prefix when we set the Halo node prefix, but originally it's called magazine. But if we take a look at our battle rifle, the vertex groups, all of them start with frame. So let's add frame space prefix to these 4 bones in the armature. So gonna select B magazine. You may have to guess kind of where these are roughly, So let's change this to frame space magazine. Let's do frame gun. Frame safety, and then the last one would be the op handle. Frame op handle. Now we may actually need to capitalize the O and the H here, because I believe that they are capitalized. Let's double check the vertex groups. Yeah. So let's try parenting it now. So Control P, armature deform. Why is the bolt sticking out right there? The bolt is not where it's supposed to be, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. We have our vertex groups and bones named what they need to be. Maybe that's just a issue with the importer? I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea what's causing that. But let's just a few more things I want to go over. The frame gun, which is the root node of the gun itself, that is going to be, if we have the bone selected and we go to the bone properties panel, let's go to relations. The parent to the root node of the gun is going to be the right hand bone. Just making, just going over that. And then also there was one other thing and I'm spacing out about it. Oh, there's a special bone here. I don't think that Halo 2 Bonobo actually exports this bone. Maybe it's a bug or something, don't know. This B base bone is going to be the root bone, I believe, for this armature. But we have a special bone here that I was going to say is not exported by Halo 2 Bonobo for whatever reason. And it's this bone, and it's camera control. Let's take a look at what this camera control does. It kind of flinches a little bit in this animation. And this camera control bone does exactly what it says it does. This animates the camera. So let's go to object mode and let's go to left orthographic view by doing 3 on your numpad, or control 3. And let's add in a camera, and that will be added at the position of the camera control. And let's do relations. Let's make the parent the armature, and we want to do parent type from object to bone. And let's select, for parent bone, let's select the camera control bone. Where in the world is that? We got a massive list of bones here. Oh gosh. There it is, at the very bottom. Let's shoot. It went to the end right there, and that's not where we want it. We want it. I forgot how to do this. Maybe we just... Alright, let's try this. Go to your object data properties panel when you have the camera selected. We want to keep the type as perspective, but let's change this lens unit to field of view. And let's set this to like 70 in the field of view. Now let's change it to 80 maybe. We want to get it roughly to where it is, you know, in the game. Now, it's very hard to see. It's very hard to tell because we don't actually have any points of reference out in the scene. Let's change that. Let's put a monkey head out here somewhere. And let's take it out here and let's scale it up so it's far easier to see. Now you can see the camera being animated with that bone. So that just gives the camera a bit more impact. It gives the animation far more character. So that's what that is for. Let's hide the armature so we don't have any things sticking out. Yeah, looking good. That's a good animation, I gotta say there. Again, don't know why the bolt right there is misbehaving. That's a little annoying. But there we go. That's how you import animations from Halo 3 into Blender.